Welcome back. I'm Mateen here with Simon Shelton and David McAtee. And today we're going to be discussing two topics. The first one being, which NBA conference is better, the East or the West? David, what are your thoughts?
I think it's the East, and here's why. In the East, I admit years ago, the West was better. They had KD, all these guys. But in recent years, Harden's gone out East. KD's gone East. You have a bunch of guys out East now, especially with Giannis, the two-time MVP. I mean, the East is stacked because it's so hard. It's just so hard in the East. You have Philadelphia, you have Brooklyn, rising teams such as Boston, and a ton of young stars. We've seen what Trae Young's done in the playoffs. We've seen what all these guys have done in the playoffs, and don't sleep on the Wizards with superstars like Bradley Beal, Russell Westbrook. I think the East is the conference to beat.
And what about you, Simon?
I do think it's the West because they've always been the powerhouse conference, and it's not just because of previous years. I think now they just have all these loaded teams, and especially upcoming teams also. They got the Mavericks, the Phoenix Suns, you got the Nuggets, just so many like great players, and you got the Suns today who could potentially take it to Game 7, and you have so many teams in the conference that can just dominate the East in pretty much every category. And if there was, maybe they should, let them battle it out for whoever plays each other in the finals, and then we would see who's the better conference.
Yeah, the no conference scenario. I also like to point out that LeBron James, the person who was carrying the East this past decade, is now in the West, so that should help the West win that battle. But our next topic is, should Ben Simmons be traded? David, what are your thoughts?
Absolutely. He just does not fit in Philadelphia. I have to say that. Embiid clogs the lane for him. He has to have an open lane to score. And when you have an all-star caliber player that you have to take out in the last 2 minutes because you're afraid of him shooting free throws, that's a problem. I think he needs to go to a team, maybe the Timberwolves, traded for D'Lo, where he would have more range to work with because Cat is such a good perimeter shooter. And he just does not fit in Philly. We thought, trust the process. We thought him and Joel could do it eventually. But after that Atlanta series, it just doesn't work. And we all know it does not work in Philly. And maybe you trade some other pieces, get other guys in there in Philly. But for now, I would say it's time to trade Ben Simmons.
And it feels like the fans want him out of there too. What about you, Simon?
I do think that he should stay in Philadelphia, considering the fact that he's just such a good defensive player. He's a top 3 defensive player in the NBA, and maybe he's not the point guard that people thought, but I think he would be better at a shooting guard or small forward position. He doesn't need to be on the perimeter as much. He can shoot mid-ranges significantly better than he does threes, and he just locks down the other team's best player. Luka, whenever they played twice, he had a total of 15 points on Ben Simmons, and whenever he plays against other star players, he just locks them down, the 1 through 5. He can lock down point guards, shooting guards, small forwards, power forwards, and centers. He can do it all. He's versatile. The only thing he cannot do is shoot three-pointers.
Now, I will say, I admit he can do all that stuff. But if the question is whether he stays in Philly, we've seen it, him and Joel, for 3 or 4 years now. It's never worked. The closest they come is when they had another star such as Jimmy Butler, when they were one lucky Kawhi shot away from the conference finals. So it just doesn't work. They've been there too long. You have to move on somehow. The 76ers have to change some things, and I think the first thing they need to change is Ben Simmons needs to leave Philadelphia. The fans want it clearly, and it needs to happen.
If only he could shoot.
And once again, that's just where they're not using him right. He's always on the perimeter, and he's not a shooter. They need to put Seth Curry at the point guard and Ben Simmons at the shooting guard. He does not need to be anywhere near the perimeter, and he's just not being used correctly. But if he stays in Philadelphia, that'll be the best decision they've made. But if he leaves, that's more luck for the team he goes to.
Both of you guys make good arguments. I guess we'll see next season if they decide to trade him or not. That's going to do it all for our show. Thank you.